guys, today we're going to talk about Toy Story, the movie. Apparently, for the past 22 years, I've been living under a rock because I have never actually seen the movie Toy Story in my life. Never. Until a few days ago, and I watched it for the first time, and I just wanted to talk about it today. You might think, Leonie, how the heck have you never seen this movie? And the answer is, I honestly don't know. I know that I didn't really grow up with Disney movies, but I did really like Pixar. I loved Finding Nemo, Monsters, Inc., but for some reason, Toy Story just like slipped through there, and I never got around to watching it. Until a few days ago. I never usually make videos about movies, but I feel like Toy Story is a movie that so many of you guys have probably grown up with, so that's why I thought it would probably still be fun to talk about this. This is not going to be some kind of in-depth critical review. I just want to ramble a bit because, spoiler alert, I really loved Toy Story and we're going to talk about it, and it's going to contain spoilers, but I don't think anyone really cares about that. Apparently, Toy Story was the first ever digital animated movie made by Pixar. I like it when movies are known for being like the first in something. I think Snow White was the first feature-length animation film from Disney, but then Pixar swooped in and made the first feature-length digital animation film. It's really funny to see because although this movie is, I think, about a little more than 20 years old, you can really see how far we've come now with the animation. I actually really loved looking at the way animation looked when it was first used in feature-length films, because I never really talk about this on my channel, but I really like animation. It's a movie slash art style that I'm a big fan of. I think Toy Story is a good example. Just any Pixar movie is a good example, actually, that these kind of movies are great for anyone. And just because it's animation doesn't mean that it's just supposed to be for kids. Like, they're still fun to watch as an adult. Again, I'm 22. I watched Toy Story for the first time and I still really enjoyed it. Maybe because it reminded me of being a kid, that could very well be possible, but also just because it's good storytelling. Good storytelling doesn't have an age. But let's get into the actual movie right now. So the idea of this movie is basically that your toys come alive when you're not around, when you're not watching, which is such a great concept. Like, I can just imagine if I were to see this movie as a child, it would make me so excited because I would be like, oh my gosh,
my Barbies must be coming alive when I'm not looking.
Bless. We start out with this big scene where we are introduced to all the toys, and I didn't recognize most of the toys. We get introduced to all the characters and I immediately really liked Woody. I think he might be my favorite one of the movie because he's just that character that has always been the favorite toy, and he's so scared that this new toy, Buzz Lightyear, is gonna be more popular than him, and I thought that was just so very well done. I really kind of related to him. Well, not related to him, I mean, I'm not a toy, I'm not someone that's like afraid of being replaced by another toy, or maybe we're all afraid of being replaced. One funny thing that I noticed is that Rex, the dinosaur, at one point mentions how he's from this bigger company, but he was actually from like a smaller company that then got bought out by that bigger company. And it just made me thought about how Pixar is now from Disney. And then we get introduced to Buzz Lightyear. It took me a long time to warm up to Buzz because at first I didn't really care about him because I was so on Woody's side and I just saw Buzz as this toy that might replace Woody. I was way too invested in this movie, but I really liked the character arcs of Woody and Buzz. Being a children's movie doesn't mean that the storytelling is not gonna be good, because I especially just loved, let's just go into Buzz for a little bit. I really loved his arc where he had to come to terms with the fact that he's a toy, because he didn't know that he was a toy. He thought he was the real Buzz Lightyear, and Woody's constantly screaming at him like, "You're a toy, Buzz," and he's like, "Nah, I'm the real Buzz Lightyear. I'm gonna fly." We'll get to that later. But I really like that character arc of Buzz trying to come to terms with the fact that he's just a toy. You know, very existential themes right in there for all the kids. He really reminded me of that guy from The Good Place. And what I really enjoyed is, you know, how these two rivaling characters, Woody and Buzz, eventually ended up being friends. I know I talk about this channel so often about how much I love rivals story time, whether it's friends to rivals or rivals to friends. So imagine my emotions when I was watching Toy Story only to realize that it also has a rivalry plotline in there. Okay, just give me rivalry plotlines anytime and I will gobble it up. Especially in that moment that we see how Woody's jealousy of Buzz and how he sees Buzz as this like fantastic great toy and therefore he's afraid that he might replace him is then used by Woody to actually convince Buzz that being a toy is not bad. Buzz being a really fantastic toy was the thing that Woody felt bad about, but then at the end of the movie he could actually use that knowledge to tell Buzz, yo, you're like a fantastic great toy, and that can be used to actually comfort Buzz, to let him know that being a toy is really not that bad when he finds out that he's a toy and not the real Buzz Lightyear. And I really liked how that played together, you know, seeing those character arcs nicely cross and grow together. That's what I like to see in my stories. But I just want to talk a little bit about the villain in this movie, and that is that boy Sid. He is the equivalent of the dentist's daughter in Nemo. Like, they're the same kind of terrible, terrible person. I think we all have to agree that Pixar has made the best villains in history. Like, move over Thanos, move over the Darkling. No one is as evil as Sid from Toy Story and that girl from Nemo. That's just the way it is. I'm not taking any criticism on that. But yes, I just loved how he was such a hateable character, Sid, and these toy... Let's just talk about these toy mutants that he made. Like, for example, the spider baby. What the fuck? There were multiple things in this movie that I recognized from the internet but that I didn't realize were from Toy Story. One of them being that spider baby. I'd seen that around as people mentioning it as one of the things that like scarred them in their childhood, but I never knew it was from Toy Story. So I was watching the movie, suddenly that baby comes on and I was like, oh gosh, it's that thing. I can only imagine if I was a child and I watched that, yes, I would have nightmares. But I was really happy to see that later they all worked together and they turned out to actually be quite sweet. But another thing that I recognized but never knew was from Toy Story was the quote "to infinity and beyond." I thought that was like some kind of famous quote that was said by an astronaut or something. And the other thing that I recognized that I was always wrong about was Woody's foot sole and how he has Andy's name in there. That's like a common iconography that you see very often, like just the footprint with Andy in it. So I thought for my entire life that Woody was named Andy because you often only see his foot and it says Andy on it. So I was like, oh, this character is named Andy. So then when I was watching the movie and it turned out that his name was Woody, I was very confused. But it makes a lot of sense because obviously you would write your own name on your dolls. But let's get back into the storyline. One thing that I liked is that this movie is kind of like a heist novel. It's kind of like Ocean's 11, you know, how they're trying to escape from every room, going into the house and doing all these like little tricks. At one point they go to the pizza planet and I was like, I want a pizza planet. I want to go to a pizza planet. That place looks amazing. I mean, it's pizzas and space. These are two things that I think are really cool and I would like to see them together, and I want to go to a pizza planet. Is Pizza Planet a thing that exists in America? Let me know. And in that pizza planet we encounter another thing that I didn't know was from Toy Story, and that's all these little aliens, like the little green aliens with the 3 eyes. I had no idea what they were from. I saw them around the internet, but then I saw them in this movie and I was like, oh! I constantly forgot that these characters are toys. I don't know about you guys, but every time something like really bad happened to them, or like they got stepped on, or at one moment one of the aliens gets like muzzled by the dog, and I was shocked because I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? And then I was like, oh, they're a toy, nothing's gonna happen to them, obviously. But it felt like I was watching some kind of horror movie where someone just like gets freaking mauled by a monster, but then they're fine because they're toys. but I kept forgetting that and getting startled. But then we get to more of the end of the movie and they're in Sid's room and they're kind of stuck there trying to get away, and Sid gets this set of fireworks from the brand illegal fireworks. I see what you did there, Pixar. And that's the moment where Buzz kind of also figures out that he's a toy, but he doesn't really want to believe it. And then we have that moment that he gets up on the railing and he's like,
I'm gonna fly!
And then he falls down. Oh my god. A very emotional moment. That really hurt me, that scene. It really hurt me more than it should. Pixar is just so good at making you care about these characters, because I felt so bad for Buzz that he just fell down, but it was such a good moment in that movie. And then he gets like drunk. You know, it's not obvious that he's drunk, like he's drinking tea, but as an adult when you're watching it, you're like, oh, he's drunk. I love that whole weird existential thing happening to him. But then they all work together with all the creepy toys to basically band up on Sid in, again, a very creepy way. The way Woody like turns his head around. No thank you. And they're trying to get back to the truck, with the moving truck with all the other toys, and they're trying, Slinky's like stretching out his entire body trying to get them, but it doesn't work. But then they use the illegal fireworks, strap it to Buzz's back, and what do you know? He's flying. And when they were flying, doing little Titanic arms and shouting to infinity and beyond,
I really felt that.
I had a great time with this movie. Like I said, it's one of those things that's still fun as an adult. Even though I can't like rely on nostalgia, I still really enjoyed it as an adult, which I think is just a sign of really good storytelling, which I think is what Pixar is kind of known for. I'm really happy that I watched this movie now, and that I now no longer have to be met with very shaming looks when I say that I've never seen Toy Story. I mean, I will still get shaming looks every time that I say that I haven't read the Harry Potter books, or that I haven't watched High School Musical, or there's like a plethora of other movies and TV shows and other popular things that for some reason I missed during my childhood and teenage years. But at least we can take Toy Story off the list right now. Anyway, let me know what your opinion is on this movie, and if you had nightmares from that creepy baby spider. I really hope you enjoyed this kind of weird rambly video about a movie. I know it's not my usual content, but I talk about stories, so I feel like movies kind of fit into that as well. I really hope you will never stop watching animated children's movies even though you're an adult. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and I will see you soon in another video very soon. Goodbye!